Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome to Sports Spectrum. I'm Jason Romano. Today's interview with Mikey Ambrose on the podcast is brought to you by Compassion International, the most trusted child development ministry in the world. $38 a month, tax deductible, connects you with a child in need. That $38 provides food, education, medical care, vocational training, all done in the name of Jesus. Check it out over at compassion.com/sports spectrum. That's the website, compassion.com/sports spectrum. Pray about it and consider releasing a child from poverty today. Really excited to welcome Mikey Ambrose from the Atlanta United to the podcast. Mikey came to Atlanta as part of the 2016 MLS Expansion Draft, and he's been there ever since. And it's been fun to watch the city of Atlanta embrace the soccer culture that the Atlanta United has brought to this city. And not only that, but the Atlanta United have been amazing as a soccer club. In 2018, they won the MLS Championship. In 2019, they won the U.S. Open Cup, and they're vying for another championship in 2019. And who knows? It's just been a lot of fun to see this club play well. And Mikey Ambrose has been a part of this club now for a few years and seen the evolution, the elevation of soccer in Atlanta. Mikey played his college soccer at the University of Maryland. And you're going to hear a really fascinating story because this kid, I call him a kid, he's 25 years old, but Mikey moved away and began his soccer journey at the age of 14, growing up in a household with 4 kids, a single mom, and he's the youngest. And at 14, he's pursuing his soccer career. It's really fascinating to hear his story and his journey. We also talk about his diehard fandom for the Dallas Cowboys. You can tell Mikey is a huge fan of the Cowboys, and we talk about that as well. I think you'll like our conversation with Mikey Ambrose from the Atlanta United. Take a listen here on Sports Spectrum. Mikey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it, and thank you all for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on here, Mikey. Looking forward to diving into your journey and your story. The Atlanta United Soccer Club, it wins the MLS Cup last year, the U.S. Open Cup this year. So soccer in Atlanta seems to be thriving. What's it been like to be a part of this team the past few years and seeing this atmosphere in Atlanta really just blow up for soccer, it feels like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy ride so far. I, like many of my teammates, we had no idea what to expect when we were coming to Atlanta. We knew it as an American football city. We knew the Braves are big here. The Falcons are big here. We didn't know that there was soccer here at all. So when we first came here, to see that first game against Red Bull at Bobby Dodd was just amazing. And we knew from then it was just going to be special. And that's what it's been. It's been the most special thing in American soccer, I think, so far. And it's been just the atmosphere that the fans create is just second to none in this league. So I've been very grateful, and it's been a privilege to play here for 3 years now.
What's the one thing about being a pro soccer player that maybe the common fan or even those that don't follow soccer realize? What's that one thing that just is something that we don't understand or see maybe on a daily basis in the training and all that? What is that one thing in your opinion?
I would just say how much of a roller coaster ride this career is. I mean, one day you can be playing very well, starting every game, top of the world, and then the next day you can be injured or you can be not playing well. Maybe you get a new coach that comes in and doesn't like you, and your world can literally get flipped upside down. But then it could go the other way too. You could never be playing, and then you get a coach that likes you, and then you're starting all of a sudden. And I mean, it's just a roller coaster, and I mean, I love it, and it's to be able to kick the ball around for a living is a blast. But yeah, it's quite stressful sometimes, but it also has its amazing rewards that it gives you too. So yeah, I'll just say the ups and downs. It's something unique for sure.
The roller coasters that you're describing, a lot of that has to do sometimes with injuries. And over the past few years, you've had to deal with some. Tell me what that's been like. How tough has that been for you to kind of overcome injuries? Nobody likes to be injured, but it's kind of part of the par for the course, I guess, in sports that injuries happen sometimes. So what's that been like to kind of work through those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a type of player. I've actually never been injured until last year. So not even a small little muscle injury. I've never had any problems until last year, and then I hurt my knee. And when I hurt my knee, I had to go through that surgery, that whole process. I was out for about 5 months. And that was at the time when I was playing a lot, too. I think I played like six games consecutively at that point or something like that. So I was doing pretty well. And then I got hurt, was out for about 5 months. Came back at the beginning of this year, was playing well at the very beginning, and hurt my knee again. Then I was out a few weeks. So, yeah, it's been a tough about last, 11 months of injury. So I've really had to learn how to deal with those because I never had to deal with them before. But yeah, it's been a good little learning experience. I've been able to tap into all the other areas of my life. And when you're a soccer player, you don't really have time to focus on anything else except soccer. So I've been able to, spend more time with family and find some hobbies that I like to do. And it's been good just to take a little step back and get a little mental break. But at the same time, you're still hungry every day to get back. And I'm so happy to be back healthy now. So
absolutely. Where does your faith come in when you go through a valley like that, when it's difficult to go through an injury, last year and having surgery, and you said finding hobbies and certainly connecting with your family, but where does your faith come in? I have to imagine that plays a part in all this too.
Oh, I mean, that's the most important part for me. I'm a Christian, so I believe that everything happens for a reason, and God has a purpose for every situation you're in. So I believe that He did have a plan when I got injured, and it was to take time away from soccer and to focus on Him a little bit more, to spend time with Him a little bit more. So, I think I just trusted in Him, and I realized that I needed to go through that in order to strengthen my relationship with Him. So, yeah, it played a huge role for sure.
Where did that faith stem from? Take me through your walk with the Lord and kind of how that grew and developed over the years.
Yeah, so thankfully I was raised in a Christian home. So my mom was a very strong Christian and brought me up believing in Jesus, believing that I wanted to have a strong relationship with Him. But it wasn't really until I lived on my own. I moved out when I was 14 for soccer. Went to the IMG Academy with the national team to get ready for the Under-17 World Cup. And that's when I really started to grow a little bit more because I was on my own. And then going into high school in Dallas and then college is just when I really started to focus on prioritizing Him every day first. Just starting to strengthen my relationship and strengthen my purpose for what I want to do for His kingdom eventually, currently and eventually when I'm done playing soccer. So, and I just lived my whole career, my whole life. I've always lived on the verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that's how I believe I've gotten here today is through Him and because of Him. So, yeah.
You mentioned 14 years old and moving out.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah.
My daughter is 15, and she's not even ready to do a lot of things, we'll say, on her own. Imagine moving out. So what did that do to shape the way that you had to grow up fast, I guess I would imagine, because you're, 25 now, going to be 26 soon? Yeah, I had to imagine you grew up pretty fast moving out at 14.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was tough for me, but, I mean, just imagine how tough it was for my mom.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Single mom of 4, and I was the baby. And for her to let her baby leave at 14, I mean, I'm so grateful she did because that changed my life. But, I had to move away to Florida to the residency program. I only saw my family probably twice a year. from then on. And yeah, it was very, very tough. But like I said, I just trusted in God, and
Did you see something? I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Did you see something at 14 that you knew soccer was something? I mean, you're not moving out of your house and going to this academy at 14 years old unless you realize soccer is in your future and something special is happening here with this talent.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even the most talented player in El Paso, so I wasn't like told by everyone you're going to be a pro. Like, I didn't even know really what pro soccer was back then in El Paso. But God told me to follow that path, and He told me, and I believed it from a very young age, keep following this path, and I'm going to make you a professional soccer player. So I believed that 100%, and I just worked every day, and I trusted in Him and whatever pathway He took me on, and I did go on a crazy path. So it really took a lot of faith and trust to start at 14 and make it all the way here. So,
well, I got to ask you this: you grew up in El Paso, and I read that you and I have something very big in common. We're both Dallas Cowboy fans.
There we go. Yeah,
I'm much older than you, so I remember the Super Bowl teams. I'm trying to figure out how, and I know where you are. So you're in Texas, and probably that's why you root for the Cowboys. Yeah. But it hasn't been so good for somebody like yourself since you've been born. I mean, you were, 2 the last time they won a Super Bowl. So tell me about your fandom for the Cowboys. You're sticking with them, huh?
I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. That's probably obviously soccer is my passion, but if I'm going to pick one sports team, it's the Cowboys. And I don't know why exactly my fandom is so strong, but yeah, I don't know. If you're from Texas,
so who were your heroes as a kid? Were you young enough to remember Emmett? You remember Emmett?
Okay. Emmett is my favorite player all time. Michael Irvin, obviously, Troy Aikman, but I didn't really get to see them that much. Obviously, I was too young. But I mean, I'm still a Tony Romo fan. I know.
Me too.
It's heartbreaking sometimes, but I'm still a huge Tony Romo fan.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I mean, every Cowboy fan gets excited about every year until about week 3 or 4. But
Mikey, let me tell you something. We're going to be running this in a few weeks, so the season will have already started. And I hope by the time we run this that they're 3-0 or 4-0 and not 1-3 or 0-4. But listen, I've been a fan since, a long time before you were born, and I know. Listen, if you say you're a Cowboys fan in 2019, you are not a bandwagon fan because they haven't won anything in 23 years. So
no, I think we won one playoff game.
Yeah, something like that. I read a stat today that they haven't been in a conference championship game since January of 1996. And I'm looking at your birth date. You were 2. So it has been a long time since they've gotten that far. And hopefully, listen, they got it. They got the team in place. They got guys locked up, Ezekiel Elliott all locked up. So I think they're in a place now where it's like, come on, put up or shut up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the year for sure.
I think so.
Zeke is happy now with his contract, so I'm very happy that Jerry made that happen too. I wasn't confident he was because I thought he was gonna hold out a little bit. I thought Jerry was gonna just like, okay, you think you're gonna fight me? Let's see what happens. But no, I'm very happy he decided just to give him the money because I think he totally deserves it. So,
well, deadlines spurn actions. That's what I know, my friend, and it definitely was one of those where the last possible moment that you can get this guy signed and get him into week 1, and the Cowboys did that. Mikey Ambrose is our guest here on Sports Spectrum Podcast from the Atlanta United. What does faith look like for you in the MLS as you live this life as a professional soccer player? Your faith is a part of your life. So take me through living out that faith. Do you have Bible studies? Do you have chapel services? What are some of the ways that you stay grounded in your faith as a soccer player?
Yeah, so it's tough because we travel so much. So you can't really have a home church that you can participate in that much, unfortunately. So thankfully, we have a chaplain. We have a team chaplain. So we meet once a week, usually. In that Bible study, we'll we'll do like an hour and a half of Bible study, a little bit of fellowship, talking about stuff. So thankfully we have that. And there's about, I don't know, on each team there's usually about 4 or 5 guys that do that. So it's a good little brotherhood, a good little discipleship that gets formed. And yeah, I'm very glad that we have that.
You are from El Paso. We mentioned that earlier. And obviously all of us saw the horrible tragedy that took place. I think it was in early August at a Walmart there in El Paso. I know you're not living there now, but it's home for you. And I'm guessing you still have family and friends. Tell me how everybody's doing and the people maybe that you knew growing up in that area, and just kind of, obviously that touched, any kind of tragedy like that touches the heart of so many of us in America. But you being close, that's being your home. What was the feelings and the thoughts that you were going through?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tragic, terrible thing that happened. And yeah, that is my home. So I was very sad when it happened, and a little bit angry, but
sure.
My hometown came together, and the town of El Paso is very strong and it's one big family, and everybody came together, supported each other. People helped strangers everywhere, and thankfully I had friends there that helped set up a soccer fundraiser game, and that raised, I think the final number was about $17,000 for 6 of the family members. There were 6 of the victims that were from the soccer community in El Paso.
That's great.
So yeah, we raised $17,000. We were able to give that to them to help them a little bit. But yeah, it just showed how El Paso came together, how it's one big family, and something like that is not gonna stop us from stop the city from all the love that they show on a daily basis. So
yeah, those are terrible things, but the beauty, I guess, and the pain is that, it brings out the best in what humanity is about, and what,
Yep.
what the human soul is about. Tell me about, obviously we'll be praying for them. What's been the prayer that you've been hanging on to of late? I think we all have different prayers, and we pray for different things and pray in different ways. Is there a prayer that you've been praying of late that's kind of been on your heart with your relationship with God?
I would say recently, just to help me to further my purpose for what He wants me to do with my life. In terms of how can I talk about Him more every day? How can I spread His word more every day? How can I fulfill His purpose and His will in my life? I would say that's something I've been praying a lot lately.
Is there a Bible verse that you stick to? You said Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ. Is there 1 or 2 other verses or stories in the Bible that have really been just something that's been an encouragement for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously John 3:16 is a huge one. For God to love the world and gave His only Son. That one is huge for me. I mean, that is why we're Christians, because of that verse, pretty much. So that's a huge one for me. But yeah, I mean, so I try to dive in every morning into the Word, and I think that's how I start my day every day. And I think it's that commitment, it just changes your whole outlook on the day and your whole perspective of everything that's going on. And it just, when you give morning time to the Lord, it's the way you should start your day, and it makes everything a little bit better.
Yeah,
I think
I would agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, if you can start your day with some gratitude and some thanks, and getting the Lord's word speaking to you, I mean, that's a great way to start. Lastly, Mikey, and this has been great. Thanks for the time. What are you learning from God today? So we asked that question. It's a little different than maybe some of the other questions I've asked you, but what is the lesson God's been teaching you in your life today? We always learn something new, I think, from Him. Each day, in some ways, we can learn something different from God. But what is He teaching you today?
I would say just to constantly pray, just to continue to talk to Him. It doesn't have to be like a official prayer. Literally, all he wants to do is just talk to you. He wants to be your friend throughout the whole day. So just continually thinking about him, continually talking to him, continually thanking him. I mean, just as simple as a little conversation, as often as I can. It just shows that you want to strengthen your relationship with him. It shows that you want to focus your energy towards him and focus more of your time, especially with all the distractions going on in today's world. It just constantly talking to him creates a better relationship and purpose for your day. So
that's good. He is Mikey Ambrose from the Atlanta United, Major League Soccer, and excited to watch his career continue to flourish. Mikey, thanks for your time here on the podcast. Wish you nothing but the best, and we'll hopefully catch up again soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you all again for having me.
Good stuff there from Mikey Ambrose on Sports Spectrum's podcast, A Terp for Life. That's what his Twitter page says, at Mikey Ambrose 3. Terp for life. He played his college soccer at Maryland, professional soccer player, left back for the Atlanta United. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is the Bible verse that is listed on Mikey's Twitter page. Give him a follow there and let him know you heard about his story and his journey here at Sports Spectrum. And we appreciate him being willing to come on and talk about his faith with us here on the podcast. Many thanks to Mikey, and many thanks to our sponsors, Compassion International. It's $38 a month, tax deductible, and an opportunity, an incredible opportunity for you to release a child from poverty. Food, education, medical care, vocational training. What an opportunity to work with the most trusted child development ministry in the world. It's one of the best decisions that I've made, that our family's made, by sponsoring a 13-year-old boy from Haiti, $38 a month, and it helps this child be released from poverty and have something that every child deserves to have, and that is simply hope. Go to compassion.com/sportsspectrum, pray about it, and consider sponsoring a child today. We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Sports Spectrum. Check out our website, sportspectrum.com. All of our articles and podcasts can be found there. I'd bookmark that site so you can go there every day, because there's new content being available, being made, being produced every single day over at sportspectrum.com. So check that out and bookmark this podcast. Click the subscribe button on whatever app you're listening so you never miss an episode of Sports Spectrum. Every single day, a brand new episode, a little throwback episode on Thursdays. It's really something that we love. We have such joy in producing and finding people like Mikey Ambrose to come on the podcast and talk about their faith in God. It's been a lot of fun, and we thank you for listening to this episode. Now over 1 million downloads of the Sports Spectrum podcast. Thanks so much. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time right here on Sports Spectrum.